All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about a skill that, believe it or not, studies show is a better predictor of success than even IQ. And the best part? It's something anyone, and I mean anyone, can get better at. It's called emotional intelligence. You've probably heard it called EQ, and it literally touches every part of our lives, from how we work to how we connect with the people we care about. So, let me ask you this. What's that one skill, the one that really unlocks your potential in, well, pretty much everything? In leadership, in teamwork, even in your personal life? Think about it. It's kind of like the secret sauce, right? The thing that separates the good from the truly great. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. What it is, and more importantly, how you can build it.
So what is it, really? At its core, emotional intelligence, or EQ, is all about being smart with feelings. It's the ability to understand your own emotions and also figure out what's going on with other people. You can think of it like a two-way street. First, you got to know what's happening inside your own head. Then you look outward to understand others. When you can do both, you can manage your actions and your relationships so much better.
Okay, but why is this such a big deal? Why does EQ even matter? Well, because the benefits they're huge. We're talking about better collaboration, where teams just click. It means you have way fewer pointless arguments and a lot more productive conversations. And hey, if you're a leader or you want to be a leader, this is the key. It's the one thing that will absolutely set you apart from the pack. All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down. We've just touched on what emotional intelligence is. Next up, we'll get into the absolute foundation, which is self-awareness. Then we'll move on to mastering yourself, then connecting with others, and finally, we'll tie it all together and talk about putting it into practice. Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the foundation, the absolute bedrock of EQ, self-awareness. I mean, it makes sense, right? You can't possibly manage something if you don't even understand it. So this is our starting point. Everything else builds on this. And yeah, this quote really nails it. Self-awareness is the foundation, because without it, you're basically just flying blind. It's about having an honest, clear look at yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your triggers, and that's the only way, the very first step to making any real, lasting change. So how do you actually build this skill? It's not magic. It really just comes down to practice. A great place to start is keeping a journal. Seriously, just jotting down your emotional reactions helps you connect the dots and see patterns. You'll start to identify what triggers you, which gives you incredible power over those reactions. Taking time to just think about your strengths and where you could improve is huge. And, asking for feedback from people you trust, that can be a total game changer for understanding how you're really perceived by others. Let's make this super practical. Imagine you start journaling and you realize, wow, every time I have a tight deadline, I get super stressed and snippy with everyone. Just recognizing that's the first win, because now you're not just a victim of that reaction. You can see it coming, you can prepare for it, and you can choose to manage it differently. And that idea of managing it differently leads us perfectly into our next piece of the puzzle, self-regulation. See, once you know what you're feeling and why, the big question becomes, what do I do about it? This is all about learning to manage those feelings so they don't end up managing you. And just look at the difference this makes. It's night and day, really. On one side, you have that knee-jerk, impulsive reaction in a disagreement, and boom, things just escalate. But on the other side, a regulated response. And it can be as simple as just pausing, taking a breath. That one small action can completely change the tone and actually open the door for a real conversation instead of a fight. And the tools to do this? They're actually pretty simple, but don't let that fool you. They are incredibly powerful. Number one, and maybe the most important, is just learning to pause. Just a beat before you speak or act in a tense moment. Simple things like deep breathing exercises can literally calm your body down. And another big one is setting boundaries. It's all about protecting your own emotional energy so you're not running on empty and just reacting to everything. Okay, so once we get a better handle on our own internal world, we can start to turn our focus outward. This is where it gets really interesting, because now we can use all that self-mastery to build much stronger, much more real connections with other people. And this really all begins with empathy. Now, here's a super important point. Empathy is not about agreeing with someone. It's just about understanding them. It means you're listening to what they're saying, not just waiting for your turn to talk. And it also means paying attention to the nonverbal stuff, body language, tone of voice, because let's be honest, that's often where the real story is. And that empathy, it builds directly into the next piece, social skills. You can think of it like this. Empathy is the input. It's the understanding you gather about someone else. Social skills are the output. That's you putting that empathy into action to actually manage your relationships well. Yeah, this is really where the rubber meets the road. We're talking about being able to communicate clearly and assertively, but also respectfully. It's about intentionally building that connection, that rapport with people. And when conflict comes up, because it always does, it's about going into it looking for a solution together, not just trying to win. All right, so we've laid the groundwork. We've talked about self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, social skills, the whole shebang. Now for the payoff. Let's see how all this stuff actually comes together in the real world to make a difference in our leadership and our relationships. So let's look at what high EQ looks like in action. Take leadership, for example. A leader with high EQ isn't just a task manager. When things get stressful, they're managing the emotions of the team. They get that you can't lead everyone the same way, so they adapt. And in our personal lives, it's the difference between a superficial friendship and a real, authentic connection built on consistent support and trust. And what's the end result of all this work? Well, you become the kind of leader who doesn't just survive change, but actually thrives in it, guiding your team with a steady hand. You become someone who builds these incredible mentoring relationships that help everyone around you grow. That is the real power of emotional intelligence. So I'm going to leave you with this question. After everything we've just talked about, from self-awareness all the way to social skills, what's the one skill you're going to start practicing first? Just pick one. Because remember, mastering this stuff isn't about a giant leap. It's about taking that first small intentional step.